What's your complaint about Amazon coming to town?
Good morning. Well, I have several. First and foremost, we're talking about something that's going to cost taxpayers $3 billion, and probably more than that. We haven't even gotten the full scope of the incentives that are going out for this project. Look, I'm for jobs. I'm for growth in the economy, of course. But at what point is it worth it when you have Google just across the river bringing 20,000 jobs itself? Facebook has grown in New York City without all these incentives. Why is it the state and the city's responsibility to provide billions of dollars to Amazon, which is probably the one company in the country that needs it the least?
Senator, we asked Alicia Glenn, who's the New York City deputy mayor, who was responsible for shepherding this deal, the same question. If you have someone like Google who is here, who's already doing all of this, she said the reason for these incentives, which she says are not specially created for Amazon. These are incentives that would be there for any company. They're using existing incentives to try and start growth outside Manhattan. She said a lot of companies want to come to Manhattan. It is much tougher to entice companies to come to some of the outer boroughs.
Well, it's hard to peel apart the misinformation because there's so much of it. But the city portion of the incentives are, as of right, that's about $1.2 billion of the total. The state portion of the incentives, which is another 1.7, are completely discretionary. So those were given to Amazon. They didn't have to be to go there. And if they're worried about the outer boroughs so much, I'll tell you what. Let Amazon go to Manhattan, like Google and everybody else, and give us $3 billion worth of affordable housing in Long Island City. We take that deal in a second.
She also said that revenue will be $12.5 billion that gets brought in by this. What do you say to that?
Well, look, this has been one of the great PR scams, this whole HQ2 process. First of all, the Cambridge Dictionary defines a headquarters as a center of operations for an organization. How many centers can you have? This isn't even the headquarters on the East Coast, because they're doing one in Virginia as well. They ran a great operation. They set up this process to squeeze as much money as they can out of these various localities, and New York fell for it. As to the question of how much is going to be created, there's 25,000 jobs. It's being portrayed as some revolutionary thing. New York City, in the last several years, has been on pace to create 90,000 jobs every single year. So if you break down 25 by the 10 to 15 years it's talking about, you're talking about, what, 2,000 jobs a year? Senator, it's significant. It's not insignificant, but it's relatively modest in the scope of the size of New York City and the economy and the way it's been growing.
Senator, though, here's the question. Look, life is relative, okay? You can either have them or you can't have them. If you believe that Amazon is going to help build an ecosystem around Long Island City, which, dare I say, has been left for dead for a very long time, if you want to attract a big technology company that others want to be around, you can offer an incentive. Or perhaps they'll go somewhere else. And so the question is, which do you want?
Well, you're right. You're right about one thing. It is relative. And I would ask you, where does it end? Why not give them $10 billion? When is too much too much?
Offer, sir. That's not what's on offer. So the issue is about the issue is strictly about the amount of money that's been offered to them. You can say, I don't want to give them this money, and they can say, thank you so much for playing. We're going to go to another state.
But it's not being paid either by the state. It's opportunity loss, maybe, from taxes you would have collected. But I just don't understand the progressive mentality. It just never seems to be about progress. I just don't see how you can look this.
If I could get a word in edgewise, if I could get a word in, I'll answer your question.
That's the first thing I've said.
Well, if I could just answer your question, I believe $3 billion to Amazon is too much. There are other big companies that have come here without that incentive. So if you're saying,
you'd rather forego the Amazon headquarters?
Well, no, you're accepting that as a binary decision. Amazon itself has said they did not come here for the incentives. They came here for the talent pool. I believe we made a bad deal. We underestimated the value New York City provides to this company.
You're trying to renegotiate. Just to clarify, what you would like to do. And I'm not sure this is on offer or even available to you, but if it was, you just would like to renegotiate the transaction.
As you pointed out, I have a deal before me that I think is a bad deal. It's bad for Long Island City. It's bad for New York City. It's bad for New York State. I am against that deal. If they want to reset the conversation and talk again about coming to New York City, which has value for them, a lot of people believe they were coming here from the start.
And if they were to say, look, Senator, we have this other great opportunity in Virginia. We're actually just going to double down there. You would say, what?
That's their choice at that point. But I don't think it's worth providing $3 billion and setting a precedent, by the way, that every other company around the country is going to look at and say, well, I guess New York's got its pockets open to be picked. Maybe we should get next in line. We have a lot of needs, and that money can go to building affordable housing, go to saving our subways, which are crumbling by the day and are hurting our economy, go to building schools, and yet we're choosing to give it to a company that doesn't need it.